Good morning and welcome to our reflection for Wednesday the 2nd of July, reading from Romans chapter 10, verses 1 to 10. Brothers and sisters, my heart's desire and prayer to God for the Israelites is that they may be saved. For I can testify about them that they are zealous for God, but their zeal is not based on knowledge. Since they did not know the righteousness of God and sought to establish their own, they did not submit to God's righteousness. Christ is the culmination of the law, so that there may be righteousness for everyone who believes. Moses writes this about the righteousness that is by the law. The person who does these things will live by them. But the righteousness that is by faith says, "Do not say in your heart, 'Who will ascend into heaven?'" that is, to bring Christ down, or "Who will descend into the deep?" that is, to bring Christ up from the dead. But what does it say? The word is near you. It is in your mouth and in your heart. That is the message concerning faith that we proclaim. If you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord, and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. This is the word of the Lord. In the world of marketing, it's understood that people need to hear a message multiple times before it sinks in. And research suggests that 5 to 7 times of hearing a message helps move the information from short-term memory to long-term memory, 7 times being the optimum. It's actually called the rule of 7. So probably that's the number of times someone needs to hear the message of the gospel before they are convinced. Unless, of course, God steps in powerfully and zaps them, which is what happened to the Apostle Paul. He certainly got that message, which turned him from persecuting Christians to being one of the most powerful teachers of the gospel in living history. Interesting that in the Bible, numbers are important, and the number for God is 7, the perfect number 7. Paul wrote much of the New Testament in the form of letters to churches, and today we're reading from his letter to the church in Rome. And I mentioned once before on Reflections that Paul didn't set up that church and had never visited it, nor had any of the other apostles, so nobody's really sure how the gospel reached Rome. If it was early converts, maybe even from the very first Pentecost, who went home from Jerusalem to set up a church, then they hadn't had a lot of teaching to draw from. So Paul's letter to the Romans is detailed, strong teaching, and is sometimes referred to as the 5th gospel. Paul's letters would have been read out aloud to congregations, some of whom may have well had low literacy skills, so Paul emphasises his points to make sure they get the message. Some theologians might be horrified when I say, as a former editor, that he did often labour the point a bit, and I sometimes find it a bit irritating. But he's probably putting the rule of 7 into practice to make sure his readers get the message and understand the gospel. And always in Paul's writing there's a gold nugget, something that jumps out and is a great teaching tool. For me, the nugget in this passage is verse 9. If you confess with your lips that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And that's all it takes. We can't earn it by good deeds. It's a gift from God, an act of grace. And that's why it's accessible to everyone. So that's the message that we need to share with friends and family. Salvation is that simple. You just might have to tell them 7 times. I'm just going to read something from Jane Williams, who's married to Rowan Williams. She says this: Paul counsels against turning faith into a new kind of strenuous pursuit where you have to search out God and grab him to you by force. God is closer to you than your own breath and heartbeat. I love that. Amen.